Be me, 47 years old, sitting at my dining room table the night before Thanksgiving. He spent the last 3 hours arranging name cards, because even small details matter when you're making a statement about who you are. My house, my rules, my carefully curated aesthetic that says, successful woman who has it all. I've been running my consulting firm for 12 years now, the one that helps corporations develop women's leadership programs. I just finished my 3rd book last month. Publisher says it's going to be even bigger than the last one. Speaking circuit has me booked solid through next spring. Corporate retreat facilitator, keynote speaker, the woman who tells other women they can have everything. Look around my kitchen. The Viking range I bought with my own money. The marble countertops I chose myself. No man's credit card, no man's permission. Feel that familiar satisfaction in my chest. This is what I built. This is what I tell other women they can build too. Tomorrow's going to be perfect. Have 17 people coming. My sister and her husband, my brother and his wife, their kids, my mother, few cousins, and of course my daughter, Elena, bringing her boyfriend. That's still weird to think about, my little girl with a serious boyfriend. She graduated last May, 5 months ago now. Sometimes I still can't believe she's done with college already. Remember touring campuses with her when she was 17. Remember sitting in those financial aid offices, smiling politely while they explained payment plans. Remember thinking, fuck that, my daughter gets the best. We wrote those tuition checks myself. Every semester, $63,000 per year. Elena went to a small liberal arts college in New England, the kind with old brick buildings and professors who actually know your name. She studied literature and philosophy, took classes on ethics and critical theory. Wasn't what I would have chosen. Wanted her to study economics or business. But I bit my tongue because that's what my mother did to me, and I swore I'd be different. If Elena wanted to read Virginia Woolf and write papers about existentialism, fine. That's her choice, that's her right. Education isn't just about job training anyway. It's about becoming a fully realized person. That's what I tell myself when I think about the $250,000. She's smart, she's capable, she'll figure out her career path. Or probably go to graduate school eventually, or maybe start in non-profit work. She's been living at home since graduation. Says she's figuring things out. Been spending a lot of time with the boyfriend, Cameron. He's 24, works in finance, some kind of analyst position, wears expensive watches, drives a newer BMW, the kind of guy who says things like, actually, a lot, and mansplains the stock market. Elena seems happy though, talks about him constantly. He's coming tomorrow, first major family event. Told Elena to let him know we dress nicely for Thanksgiving. This isn't some casual affair. She laughed, said he knows, said he's looking forward to it. Finish arranging the name cards, step back to admire the table. Everything in its right place. Go to bed feeling good about tomorrow. Wake up early, start prep work. Have caterers coming at 2, but I'm making a few dishes myself. Not because I have to, because I want to. There's a difference. My mother calls around 10, asks if she can bring anything. Tell her just herself. Everything's handled. When she does, that little sigh, she does. The one that implies, I'm being controlling. Let it go, not today. Caterers arrive, right on time. Start setting up. House smells amazing. Turkey and herbs and yeast rolls. Go upstairs to change. Pick out an outfit I bought last month. Tailored wool pants, silk blouse, statement necklace. Look at myself in the mirror. Think, yeah, this works. This says successful. This says confident. This says I have my shit together. Guests start arriving around 3:30. My sister, Jennifer, comes first, her husband trailing behind carrying pies. Her kids are teenagers now, practically adults. My brother Mark shows up next with his wife and their 2 boys. Cousins arrive, my mother arrives. Everyone's hugging and talking, and the house fills with noise. Keep checking my phone. Elena texted an hour ago, saying they were on their way. She lives here, but she went to pick up Cameron from his apartment. Finally hear the door open around 4. Elena walks in, Cameron behind her. She looks beautiful, wearing a dress I haven't seen before. Something floral and fitted, more feminine than her usual style. Cameron's in a blazer and dark jeans, clean cut, hand on Elena's lower back, that possessive boyfriend gesture. Everyone greets them. The family does that thing where they make a fuss over the young couple. My mother, especially, she's practically beaming. Traitor, I think, but I smile. We settle in the living room for drinks before dinner. I'm making conversation, playing, host, keeping everything flowing. Notice Elena seems nervous, keeps glancing at Cameron. He gives her these little nods, like reassurance. Weird energy between them, but I figure he's just anxious meeting everyone. My brother asks Cameron about his job. Cameron launches into explanation of his firm, talks about markets and portfolios, and his career trajectory. Use the word trajectory, unironically, like that's normal. My sister's daughter asks Elena what she's been up to since graduation. Elena gets that nervous look again. Says she's been doing some substitute teaching, working part-time at a bookstore. My sister nods politely, but I can see the confusion. $250,000 education to shelve books and babysit. Feel that familiar tightness in my chest, but push it down. She's figuring it out. She's young. It's fine. We move to the dining room. Everyone finds their name cards. I put Elena and Cameron together, across from me, so I can see them. Food gets served. Everything looks perfect. For 20 minutes, it's just normal. Thanksgiving, passing dishes, and complimenting food. My mother tells the same stories she tells every year. My brother's kids are on their phones under the table. Jennifer's husband has 3 glasses of wine. Then Cameron taps his glass with his fork. Everyone goes quiet, looks up. He's standing, Elena's hand in his. Oh God, I think. He's proposing at my Thanksgiving dinner. I feel simultaneously touched and annoyed that he didn't ask first. But he's not getting down on one knee. He's just standing there, looking around the table, says he and Elena have some news they want to share. Elena stands up too, her hand shaking slightly in his. She's looking at me, directly at me. Her eyes are determined, almost defiant. Says, Mom, everyone, I have an announcement. The room is completely silent, everyone waiting. She takes a breath. Says, I've been doing a lot of thinking since graduation. Says, about my life, about what I want, about what matters to me. I'm smiling encouragingly, thinking maybe she got into graduate school. Maybe she's got a job lined up somewhere. She continues. Says, I know I spent 4 years studying literature and philosophy. Says, I know that was a significant investment. She's looking right at me when she says, investment. Says, but I've realized that the path I want for my life is different than what everyone might expect. Pause. Dramatic. Cameron squeezes her hand. She says, Cameron and I are getting engaged. The table erupts in congratulations, everyone clapping. I'm clapping too, automatic, but watching her face. There's more. I can tell there's more. She holds up her hand for quiet. Says, and I want everyone to know, especially you, Mom, especially me. Says, I've decided that I don't want to pursue a traditional career. The word traditional has weight on it. Intentional. Says, I've spent a lot of time thinking about what feminism means, what choice means. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. Says, and I've chosen to reject the expectation that I need to prioritize career and corporate success. My face is frozen, smile still there, but dying. Says, I want to be a wife, a mother, a homemaker. The word homemaker lands like a bomb. Says, I want to support Cameron's career. I want to create a home. I want to bake and cook and raise children. Says, I want to embrace traditional values because I believe they're meaningful and fulfilling. Says, I believe the most important work I can do is building a family. The table is dead silent now. Everyone is looking at me. My mother has this weird little smile. Jennifer looks shocked. Mark is staring at his plate. Cameron is standing there proud, chest out, like he won something. Elena is still looking at me, waiting. I can't speak. My mouth is open, but nothing is coming out. She continues, voice getting stronger. Says, I know you built your whole career on telling women they should lean in and break glass ceilings. Says, but real feminism is about choice, right? She's using my own words. Words from my second book. Says, so I'm choosing this. I'm choosing to find fulfillment in domesticity and motherhood. Says, I don't need a corner office to be empowered. Says, I don't need to be a CEO to be valuable. Says, some of the most radical women I know are the ones who reject capitalist definitions of success. She's been rehearsing this. This is prepared. Says, and I know my education was expensive. There it is. Says, but that education taught me critical thinking, taught me to question assumptions. Says, and I'm questioning the assumption that every educated woman needs to pursue corporate achievement. Says, I learned about philosophy, about what makes a good life. Says, and I've decided a good life is one centered on family and community and care work. Care work. She's using academic terminology to defend becoming a housewife. Says, so, starting in January, I'm going to stop working at the bookstore. Says, I'm going to move in with Cameron. It says, and I'm going to start building the life I actually want. Says, I'm going to learn to bake bread. I'm going to plan meals. I'm going to create a home. Says, and eventually, I'm going to raise children who grow up with a parent who's actually present. That last part is a dig at me. I know it is. My sister used to make comments about how much I worked when Elena was little. Elena sits down, Cameron sits down. He puts his arm around her. Everyone is still looking at me. I need to say something. I need to respond. My entire career is about this moment. I've given hundreds of speeches about women's choices and empowerment. I've written 3 books about women in the workplace. I've built a consulting firm that teaches corporations how to retain and promote women. I have advised Fortune 500 companies on their diversity initiatives. I have been interviewed on national television about women's leadership. I have panels and keynotes and workshops all about this exact topic. My daughter, my only child, just announced in front of my entire family that everything I stand for is wrong. Worse than wrong, it's something to be rejected. She used the language of choice and feminism to completely dismantle my life's work. She's right that I always said, feminism is about choice. I did say that, it's in my TED Talk. But I didn't mean this choice. I meant the choice to be a doctor, or a lawyer, or an entrepreneur. I meant the choice between different kinds of success, not the choice to opt out entirely, not the choice to become what our grandmothers fought to escape. My mother is looking at me with that expression, the one that says, I told you so, because my mother did choose to stay home. My mother did bake cookies and raise children, and I spent my entire adult life proving that wasn't enough, proving that women needed more, deserved more, built my entire identity on being more than what she was. And now Elena is choosing my mother's life, choosing it explicitly, deliberately, after I paid $250,000 for her to have options. Jennifer finally breaks the silence, says congratulations. Her voice is uncertain, questioning, doesn't know if she's allowed to be happy about this. Mark raises his glass, says to the happy couple. People start echoing it, toasting. I'm supposed to say something. Mother of the bride. Mother of the almost bride. Supposed to give blessing. Supposed to be gracious. Cameron is looking at me now too. There's something in his expression. Victory. He looks victorious. This little finance bro, who probably listens to podcasts about masculinity and traditional values. He did this. I know he did this. Elena wasn't like this in college. She took women's studies classes. She went to protests. She called me sophomore year, crying about the wage gap. This is him, his influence. But I can't say that. If I say that, I'm denying Elena's agency. I'm being the exact kind of feminist that people mock. The kind who only supports women's choices when they're the right choices. Finally, find my voice. Sounds hollow, sounds wrong. Say, well, that's certainly unexpected. Elena's face falls a little. She wanted something else. Wanted approval or outrage. Wanted some big reaction she could push against. Say, I suppose congratulations are in order. Raise my glass with everyone else. And ast. Drink. And it tastes like nothing. Dinner continues, but it's strained now. People make awkward conversation. My mother asks Elena about wedding plans. Elena lights up, Starts talking about wanting something small and intimate. Says she's been looking at venues, thinking, spring. Spring is 6 months away. She's been planning this. This whole thing is coordinated. The announcement, the timing, the public setting. She knew exactly what she was doing, making it impossible for me to react honestly, making me look bad if I object, trapping me with my own rhetoric about choice and empowerment. Cameron talks about his promotion, how it came with a significant raise. Says they'll be comfortable, Elena won't need to work. Won't need to. Like working is a burden. Like having your own income isn't freedom. My sister's daughter, the teenager, asks Elena if she's sure. Elena says she's never been more sure of anything. Says she's been researching homemaking, watching tutorials. Tutorials on what? I wonder. How to fold laundry. Says she's excited to learn to cook properly, to meal plan. Says she finds the idea of creating a home deeply meaningful. Uses the word meaningful like it's sacred. My brother's wife, who works part-time as a nurse, asks about boredom. Elena says she doesn't think she'll be bored at all. Says there's so much to learn about running a household well. Says she wants to garden, preserve food, maybe homeschool eventually. Homeschool. This keeps getting worse. Cameron adds that they want a big family, 4 or 5 kids. 4 or 5. Elena is nodding, smiling. My daughter, who used to say she might not even want children. My daughter, who wrote her senior thesis on Simone de Beauvoir. Dinner finally ends. People migrate back to the living room. I excuse myself, go upstairs to my bathroom, sit on the edge of my tub. My hands are shaking. Feel like I might throw up. Everything I worked for. Everything I taught her. Every conversation we had about her potential. Every time I told her she could be anything. And she chooses this. Worse, she weaponizes feminism to justify it. She's right, technically. Choice is choice. But some choices are better than others. Some choices waste potential. Some choices betray everything women fought for. I can't say that though. Can't say any of that without proving her point. She set this up perfectly. Checkmate, using my own pieces. Hear a soft knock on the door. It's my mother. She comes in without waiting for permission. Sits next to me on the tub edge. Says, she's happy. I say, she's 22. She doesn't know what happy is. My mother says, you were 23 when you decided you'd never be like me. Well, that lands hard, she continues. Says, maybe she's doing the same thing, defining herself in opposition. I say, it's different. She's moving backward. My mother says, or you're both moving forward in your own ways. I say, I paid for her education, so she'd have opportunities. My mother says, and now she has the opportunity to choose. I hate that argument. Hate it, hate it, hate it. But it's sound. It's logically consistent. My mother pats my knee. Says, come back downstairs. Says, you don't have to approve, but you have to accept. Says, unless you want to lose her completely. That's the threat, implicit. Accept this, or lose your daughter. Go back downstairs, face composed. Elena and Cameron are saying goodbye, need to get back to his apartment. Elena hugs me, whispers, thank you for dinner. Doesn't say, thank you for understanding. Doesn't ask for my blessing. Just thanks me for the meal, like I'm a caterer. They leave. Everyone else. Starts leaving shortly after. Too awkward to stay. The energy is ruined. Jennifer hugs me at the door. Says, well, that was something. Mark just shakes his head. Says kids these days. My mother is last to leave. She says, you know, I'm proud of you. I say, for what? She says, for building your life your way. She says, now, let her build hers. She kisses my cheek and leaves. Stand in my empty house, my carefully curated successful woman house. Caterers cleaned up. Everything is back in order. Perfect kitchen, perfect furniture, perfect life. And, just me in it, alone. Elena's father left when she was 3. He said he couldn't handle my ambition, my drive. He said he wanted a traditional wife. I told him, good luck finding one. This is the 21st century. Raised Elena myself. Built my career. Proved I could do it all. Wanted her to see that women don't need men to define them. Wanted her to see that work is dignifying. Wanted her to have choices. And she chose. She chose wrong. Except I can't say that. Can't say there are wrong choices in feminism. That's the whole point. There are no wrong choices. But there are. There have to be. Otherwise, what was it all for? What were the protests and the policies and the pipeline programs? What was the point of fighting for workplace equality if women just opt out? Feel anger, rising, hot, and familiar. This is Cameron's fault. He convinced her, manipulated her. Probably told her she's too special to work. Probably promised her a life of leisure. Probably feeds her some fantasy about noble domesticity. Except Elena's smart. She's not easily manipulated. She made this choice with full information. That's what makes it so devastating. She knows exactly what she's rejecting and why. Sit down at my laptop, still open on the kitchen counter. Have a speech next week. Women's Leadership Conference in Chicago. 5,000 women attending. Topic is about breaking barriers and embracing ambition. They have a whole section about raising daughters to dream big. How am I supposed to give that speech now? How am I supposed to stand in front of 5,000 women and tell them to encourage their daughters, when my own daughter just rejected everything publicly? I can already imagine the questions during Q&A. Someone will have heard. Someone always hears. Someone will ask how I reconcile my message with my daughter's choice. And what do I say? Do I throw her under the bus? Distance myself from her decision? Do I defend her choice? Undermine my own message? There's no good answer. She knew that when she made this announcement public, she could have told me privately, could have sat me down one-on-one. Instead, she did it in front of the whole family, in my house, at my table. Maximum impact, maximum humiliation. This was strategic. Feel a flash of pride despite myself. She learned how to make power moves. Learned from watching me. Then, immediately feel sick again because she used those skills against me. Check my phone. No. Message from Elena. Check my email. 17 new messages. 3 from my publisher. 2 from my speaking agent. Somehow, word is already getting out. Someone at dinner posted something. Probably. Everything is public now. Everything is content. My family drama is about to become professional liability. Open the email from my publisher. Subject line just says, "Call me." That's never good. Think about my third book, the one coming out in spring. The one about women mentoring the next generation. There's a whole chapter about my relationship with Elena, about raising her to be independent and ambitious. A ghost wrote parts of it from her perspective. She approved them, signed off on everything. Now that book is going to read like a joke, like false advertising. Look around my kitchen again. This space that represents everything I achieved. Bought with my own money, designed to my specifications. No man's input required. And Elena is going to give this up. Going to choose someone else's kitchen, someone else's house. Going to make her whole identity about supporting someone else. Doorbell rings. Startles me. It's almost 9. Who would come by now? Open the door, and it's Elena. Alone, no Cameron. Her face is blotchy, like she's been crying. She says, "Can we talk?" Step aside. Let her in. We go to the living room, sit on opposite ends of the couch. She's twisting her hands together. Nervous energy. Says, "I know you're upset." I say, "I'm not upset. I'm concerned." She says, "No, you're upset. I can tell." I say, "Fine, yes, I'm upset." She says, "This is exactly why I did it publicly." I say, "What do you mean?" She says, "Because if I told you privately, you would have tried to talk me out of it." She says, "You would have made it about you and your work." She says, "You would have made me feel guilty about the money." All of which is true. All of which I would have done. I say, "Elena, you spent 4 years studying literature and philosophy. I say, you have an exceptional education. I say, you could do anything, she says, and I'm choosing this. I say, you're 22, you don't know what you want yet. She says, you were 23 when you started your career. She says, did you know what you wanted? I say, that's different. She says, why? Because you chose ambition and I chose family? I say, because I chose freedom. She says, this is my freedom. I say, freedom to be dependent on a man? She says, you're being reductive. She's right, I am, but I don't care. I say, Elena, what happens if Cameron leaves you? I say, what happens if you get divorced? I say, what happens in 20 years when the kids are grown and you have no career? She says, what happens if you die tomorrow and all you have is your work? That stings. She continues, says, what happens when you're 70 and alone because you prioritize career over relationships? I say, I have relationships. She says, do you though? She says, you have colleagues and professional contacts. She says, you have networking events. She says, but who actually knows you? I say, you know me. She says, do I? She says, because I spent my childhood with nannies while you traveled for work. She says, I spent my teenage years hearing about your achievements, but not having you at my events. She says, I learned what you do, but not who you are. This isn't fair. I worked so she could have a better life. I worked so she could go to that expensive college. I worked so she'd have options. Tell her this. She says, I know, and I'm grateful. She says, but I don't want that life for my kids. She says, I want to be present. I want to be available. She says, I want to know them and have them know me. I say, you can have a career and be a good mother. She says, can you though? She says, because you tried, and I spent a lot of time feeling like I wasn't your priority, feel like I've been slapped. She keeps going, says, I'm not trying to hurt you, she says. I'm trying to be honest about what I want, she says, and I want something different than what you wanted. I say, you want to be a housewife, she says. I want to build a home. I say, that's the same thing. She says, only if you think homemaking isn't valuable work. I say, it's not work, it's unpaid labor. She says, so the only work that matters is work that generates income. She says, care work isn't valuable because it's not monetized. She's using academic language again, turning this into a theoretical debate. I say, Elena, you can intellectualize this all you want. I say, but at the end of the day, you're choosing to be dependent. She says, interdependent, not dependent. She says, Cameron and I are building a partnership. I say, where he has all the financial power. She says, where we each contribute what we're good at. I say, you're good at a lot of things. I say, you could be a professor, a writer, a lawyer. I say, you could run a non-profit or start a business. I say, you have so much potential. She says, and I'm using that potential to build a life that feels meaningful to me. She says, why is that so threatening to you? I say, it's not threatening. She says, it obviously is. She says, my choice is threatening because it questions your choice. She says, if I can be fulfilled as a homemaker, does that mean you were wrong to prioritize career? She says, if I can find meaning in domesticity, does that invalidate your life's work? I say, that's not what this is about. She says, isn't it though? She says, you built your entire identity on rejecting traditional womanhood. She says, so when I embrace it, it feels like a rejection of you. She's right. God, she's right. That's exactly what it feels like. Personal betrayal, not just ideological disagreement. She chose to become what I fought not to be. She chose the life I escaped. And worse, she's doing it deliberately, knowingly, with full awareness of what she's rejecting. I say, I just want you to be happy. She says, I am happy. She says, this is what makes me happy. I say, you're too young to know. She says, you were young too when you made your choices. We sit in silence for a moment. She says, I love you, Mom. She says, but I need you to respect my decision. She says, I need you to understand that I'm not doing this to hurt you. She says, I'm doing this because it's what I genuinely want. I say, I don't understand how you can want this. She says, I know. She says, and maybe you never will. She says, but I need you to try. I say, what if you regret it? She says, what if I don't? She says, what if I spend my life raising children and gardening and baking? She says, and what if I'm completely fulfilled and happy? She says, would that be so terrible? Want to say, yes. Want to say, yes, that would be terrible, because it would mean everything I believed was wrong. Would mean I sacrificed relationship with my daughter for a career that ultimately didn't matter more. Would mean the women I've spent years advising might have been better off choosing differently. Would mean the whole structure of empowerment and ambition I built might be hollow. I can't say any of that. Just sit there. Elena stands up, says she should go, says Cameron is waiting in the car. Of course he is. Of course he drove her here and waited. Probably his idea for her to come back and smooth things over. She hugs me. I don't really hug back. She says, I'll call you tomorrow. She leaves. Sit alone in my living room. The house is completely quiet. This is my life. This is what I chose. Successful career, financial independence, professional respect, and I'm alone on Thanksgiving night. The daughter just told me I was an absent mother. Daughter just rejected everything I stand for. Daughter just chose the opposite life, and somehow used my own arguments to justify it. Get up, pour myself a drink. Expensive scotch I bought in Scotland last year, after a speaking engagement. Sit at my kitchen counter with my laptop. Stare at the speech I'm supposed to give next week. Entire section about empowering our daughters. Entire section about breaking cycles. And my daughter just chose to break the cycle by going backward. Or is it backward? She'd say, it's not. She'd say, it's just different. She'd say, value isn't determined by income or status. She'd say, feminine work has been devalued by patriarchal capitalism. She'd say, choosing domesticity is radical in a culture that only respects marketplace productivity. She'd use all the right academic language. And she'd be technically correct. That's what makes this so infuriating. She's not some brainwashed tradwife. She's not ignorant of feminist theory. She's making an informed choice that happens to align with traditional values. And there's nothing I can say that doesn't make me sound like I'm against women's choice. Which I'm not. I'm for women's choice. Just not this choice. Except that's contradictory. That's the whole problem. She found the logical flaw in my worldview and exploited it perfectly. She learned critical thinking from that expensive education and used it to completely dismantle me. Used it to choose a life I spent decades arguing against. Check my phone again. My speaking agent emailed. Subject line urgent. Open it. She's hearing rumors about my daughter's announcement. Wants to discuss how to handle the optics. Wants to know if I need to cancel any appearances. Wants to do damage control. This is my life now. My daughter's personal choice is professional damage. Her happiness is my public relations crisis. Her freedom is my ideological defeat. And the worst part, the absolutely worst part, is that she's right about the hypocrisy. She spent my whole career saying feminism is about choice, saying women should support other women's choices, saying there's no one right way to be a woman. And I meant it. I really meant it. I just didn't mean this. Didn't think anyone would actually choose subordination. Didn't think my own daughter would choose it. Didn't account for the fact that choice means actual choice, including choices I think are wrong. Finish my drink, pour another. Look around my perfect kitchen in my perfect house. Achieved everything I set out to achieve. Wrote the books, gave the speeches, built the business, proved that women can do it all. Except I didn't do it all. Didn't have a marriage, didn't have work-life balance, didn't have presence in my daughter's childhood apparently. And now my daughter is choosing the opposite. Choosing presence over achievement. Choosing relationship over resume. And she's doing it with confidence and clarity. doing it in a way that makes me question everything. That's how I know she won. She didn't just reject my values. She made me doubt my own. She got me to question my entire life's work. Got me to wonder if I made the wrong choices. Got me to sit here alone on Thanksgiving, wondering if career success was worth it. That's the real defeat. Not that she chose differently, but that she made her choice seem valid. Made it seem like maybe there are multiple right answers. Made me feel like maybe I don't have all the answers after all, and I'm supposed to be the expert. Supposed to be the one who knows. It's supposed to be the one who confidently tells other women how to live. But my own daughter doesn't want my advice. Doesn't want my life. Doesn't want what I fought for. Wants cookies and kids and subordination to a man's career. And somehow, she made that sound empowered. Somehow, she used my own rhetoric to justify it. Somehow, she won the argument before it even started, by making it about choice. Because I can't argue against choice without becoming the villain. Can't say her choice is wrong without invalidating feminism. Can't disapprove without being oppressive. She trapped me perfectly. 22 years old, and she already outsmarted me. College, education, money well spent, I guess, taught her to think critically. She thought critically and chose tradition. The irony is almost funny. Would be funny if it wasn't my life, if it wasn't my daughter, if it wasn't everything I built being questioned. Sit with my laptop, my speech, my expensive scotch. Successful feminist thought leader. That can't even convince her own daughter. That's what people will say. That's what the think pieces will say. That's what my critics will say. And they'll be right. I failed the most important persuasive task. Failed to pass on my values to my own child. She grew up watching me succeed, and decided she wanted the opposite. That's the real obliteration. Not a dramatic argument. Not a public fight. Just quiet, complete rejection, wrapped in the language of empowerment and choice. Served with a smile at Thanksgiving dinner. My daughter is going to be a housewife. My daughter is going to bake cookies and raise children. My daughter is going to support a man's career. And there's nothing I can say, nothing I can do. Nothing that doesn't make it worse. She won. He won. I lost. And I have to smile and accept it. Have to be supportive. Have to respect her choice. Because otherwise, I'm a hypocrite. Otherwise, everything I've said about women's empowerment is meaningless. She knew that. She knew exactly what she was doing. Announcing it publicly so I couldn't object. Framing it in feminist terms so I couldn't argue. Making it about choice so I'm trapped by my own logic. Brilliant, really. Would be proud if I wasn't devastated. Finish my second drink. House is still quiet. Tomorrow, I'll call her. Be supportive. Tomorrow, I'll figure out how to spin this professionally. Tomorrow, I'll start the work of accepting what I can't change. But tonight, I sit alone in my expensive house. Successful career woman. Feminist thought leader. Mother of a future tradwife. Completely and utterly defeated by my own daughter. Using my own arguments. Claiming my own values. Checkmate.